Welcome to The Thinking Chamber, a space for thoughtful, balanced conversations on politics, history, and the legal systems we live under. Today's question is simple but serious. What would happen if the UK left the European Convention on Human Rights? At first glance, it might sound like a technical legal debate, but if you look closer, you'll find a deeper connection about accountability and how much protection individual rights really have in modern democracy. Let's take a closer look. What is the ECHR and why was it created? The European Convention on Human Rights was drafted in 1950 in the aftermath of World War II. Its purpose was to ensure that governments could never again use legal systems to justify abuse, discrimination, or unchecked power. The UK wasn't just a member, it was a founding voice. British lawyers helped draft the convention, and leaders like Churchill publicly supported it as a way to preserve liberal democracy across Europe. This convention protects the right to life, the right to a fair trial, freedom from torture and slavery, freedom of expression, religion, and assembly, and the right to privacy and family life. It's enforced by European Court of Human Rights, based in Strasbourg, entirely separate from European Union, so Brexit does not affect it. How does it actually work? Most human rights cases are dealt here in the UK in domestic courts. But when all national legal options are exhausted, individuals can appeal to the European Court, which acts as a final check on whether a fair process was followed or whether the fundamental rights were respected. Now, that doesn't happen often, but when it does, it can make a difference. It helped end indefinite detention of terror suspects in the UK, it influenced reform on prisoner voting laws, and it helped shape the Human Rights Act 1998, which made these rights part of the UK law. So in short, the ECHR does not replace British law, it strengthens it by setting a shared standard across 46 countries. So why is withdrawal being discussed? The debate intensified after the Illegal Migration Act in 2023. One of the key policies, deporting asylum seekers to Rwanda, was halted after the European Court issued an interim order citing possible human rights concerns. Some politicians and commentators argued that the ECHR was limiting the UK's ability to enforce its own laws. Their core arguments were about national sovereignty should take priority, UK courts and parliament should have the final say, and international judges should not interfere with domestic decisions. Now, these are serious constitutional questions about who holds the ultimate authority in a democracy. Supporters of withdrawal argue that the rights should be protected by parliament and not international oversight. But there's also another side. What would leaving the ECHR mean? If the UK withdrew, it wouldn't mean that the rights would disappear, but it would just remove the external review system that exists today. It could also end individuals' ability to appeal in Strasbourg Court, affect legal cooperation with European countries. It could also undermine aspects of the Good Friday Agreement, which relies on ECHR protections. It could also send a wider message that human rights are now subject to political change rather than legal consensus. It would place the UK alongside only one other modern democracy to leave, which is Russia. It exited the convention in 2022 after invading Ukraine. But now the question is, why does this matter to ordinary people? You may never file a case in Strasbourg. You may never feel your rights are threatened. But these systems are not built for when everything works. They're built for when it doesn't. They're the safety nets that catch the few and remind the powerful that they're not above review. Because history doesn't just warn us about tyranny, it also shows how slow erosion, small legal steps can shift the balance of power in ways that takes decades to reverse. This isn't about left or right, government or opposition. It's about how we protect the dignity of individuals, now and in the future, and whether we believe accountability should stop at national borders. If you'd like a deeper look into anything I'd mentioned, like how the Human Rights Act works or the role of ECHR in Good Friday Agreement, I'd be happy to cover it in another video. Just let me know in the comments. If you found this useful or thought-provoking, consider subscribing to The Thinking Chamber. This is a space for serious and calm discussions for people who still care about thinking before shouting. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next one.